Hey guys, I'm Lawrence from EVA Cosplay, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I made Cloud's shoulder pad, or rather, the Cloud's shoulder pad right here. So I'm going to start off with my cloud pattern, which you can get in my shop. For this project, I'm going to use some Barge contact cement. We're going to need some utility knives and some thumbtacks that you can pick up at the dollar store. Thumbtacks are great for other projects. I'm sure you'll find some use for them. Next, you'll need a Dremel and some various bits. I'll have the name to these bits in the description down below. I'm going to use two different thickness of foam, a 5mm foam and a 5/16 inch foam. So I'm going to start off by pinning down my pattern onto the foam. In this case, I'm going to use a silver Sharpie. This is a tip I picked up from Evil Ted, and I think TNT Cosplay also sends you a silver Sharpie when you order foam from them. This allows you to see your pattern when you're working with black foam. Now I'm going to use a steel ruler to cut out the straight edges of the pattern on the foam. Now take your time when cutting the curved portion of the pattern, making sure the blade is 90 degrees with the foam when you're cutting it out. Now I'm going to do the same thing and use the same pattern to transfer onto the 5/16 inch thick foam. So once that's done, I'm going to make this detail on the leftover 5mm foam I had from earlier. So once you have that traced, I'm going to use a steel ruler to make these lines that you see here. So I've already cut out the details, but here I'm going to use an X-acto blade or utility knife to score in the details that we made earlier. Scoring the details with an X-acto blade is going to make them pop when you hit it with a heat gun. Here I'm going to use my Dremel with a diamond bit tip to add depth to the detail I just made. Lastly, I'm going to use a circular polishing disc to add a bevel to the corners of this detail. Hopefully you can see the details I made with the Dremel. Let me focus it for you. Now this part is important. Make sure you flip the pattern around and make a score line. I'm going to do this for all 4 pieces and come back and score the line with my knife. This allows you to make that flap on the collar while using one continuous piece of foam. Once that's done, I'm going to use my heat gun to heat seal the foam. Now it's time to heat form the shoulder pad. Here I just used a round styrofoam ball on a roll of tape. You might have to come back and heat these foam pieces up again if it cools down for too long. Now I'm ready to apply the contact cement to the edges of the foam pieces. In my other video I used DAP contact cement, but in this video I used Barge contact cement, just to show you that they both work fine. Make sure you apply an even coat to both sides of the pattern and give it some time to dry. Once the contact cement is dry, I'm going to put the pieces together, starting from the edge and carefully lining up the registration marks. Once you get to this end of the shoulder pad, you want to make sure you pull the collar up towards you, creating that flare before you put the pieces together. And there you have it, the bottom piece of Cloud's shoulder pad. And that's the flare I was talking about. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other pieces, carefully lining up the registration marks and keeping that flare in the collar. Here I'm going to use my Dremel with polishing wheel to smooth off the seam of the 2 pieces. Once I have the 2 pieces made, I'm going to stack them together, giving that step detail that we see Cloud's shoulder pad have. Here I'm positioning the top layer of the foam piece. Once I have that in proper position, I'm going to pin that down with some needles. Then I'm going to come back with a silver Sharpie and outline the outside of the top layer. That way when I take it off, I'll know where the contact cement should be applied. Once you applied your contact cement and it's dry, you're ready to put the 2 pieces together. I like to start on this side of the shoulder pad and then work my way around it. You might have to do some push and pull, but with some patience, you can get this step just right. Now we're finally ready for the details. Here I'm just using some general super glue and applying that hexagon detail that we made earlier. Also, you want to make sure that midline is horizontal when you put on this detail. I want to apologize, it's a little dark, but here I'm just using a sanding drum on my Dremel and pushing in the details that I made earlier. These are the 3 dots that sit on top of the hexagon pattern. Now we can use those thumbtacks I was talking about earlier. Here I'm just using some super glue to make sure that the thumbtacks won't come out later. And there you have it, the details that the thumbtack makes are my favorite go-to methods for a rivet look. Now I just have to do that for the other side. Now for this last part, I'm using a triangle with circles on each of the corners to ensure that the screws are equal distance from each other. Now when you line this up, you want to make sure these 2 circles are along the curve of the shoulder. If that doesn't make sense, I'll show you later what I mean. Now for this last part, you're going to need a drill press. So I just bought this new drill press just for you guys, because 1, I left my big drill press at the big shop, and 2, I need to show you guys how to do this. Now the screws I used for this one have the code BDD. You can pick them up at Home Depot, but honestly you can use whichever screws you like. So instead of pushing the drill into the foam piece, we're going to hold the foam piece and push up against the drill. Of course, you want to be careful here, and if you don't feel safe doing this, then please don't do this. When you're doing this, you want to be very careful, of course, especially your fingers. Once you have these 3 holes drilled, you're ready to put the screws in. And once again, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, please get someone that's more experienced and comfortable to do it for you. So once you have the screws in, there's one thing that I forgot to mention. You're going to need these nuts that are the same size as the screw, of course, and then screw those on so that the screws don't come off the foam pieces. So this is what I was talking about earlier, how these 2 screws have to be along the curve of the shoulder. You see how these 2 screws are lined up around the curve of the shoulder, and there's this 3rd one that's behind the shoulder pad. Okay, so that concludes part 1 of Cloud's shoulder pad. Stick around for part 2, where I try a different technique and get this corroded look on the shoulder pad. I've never done it before, and it came out pretty decent. So I'm excited to show you guys how I did that. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. That really helps this video move up the recommended list on this huge YouTube platform. If you have any questions on my build in this video, leave them in the comments down below and I'll get back to you. If you just want to say hi, leave them in the comments down below and I'll get back to you too. And if you want to see what happens in between these videos, definitely follow me on Instagram. I'll have my info in the link in the description down below. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.